The Biden campaign is kind of in panic mode a little bit because there's some videos of him that have been floating around Twitter of, throughout his career saying some pretty unsavory things. Unsavory things. There's like at least 5 or 6 videos of him arguing for cuts to Social Security. And he released a statement that was like, we're so upset that the Bernie campaign is sending around deceptively edited video where they're pretending like I'm for cutting Social Security. I'm not for that. And again, meanwhile, there's like at least 5 or 6 videos out there of him advocating for that. And there was an extensive round of reporting when he was vice president that he and Obama had put Social Security cuts on the table to Mitch McConnell. And thank God, the only reason we didn't actually get those Social Security cuts is because McConnell and the Republicans wanted more. So it's a fact. It's an ironclad, stone-cold fact that Biden has advocated for Social Security cuts over the years. And his campaign doesn't know how to react to that because one of his strongest demographic groups that vote for him are older folks in the Democratic primary. Particularly, he does phenomenally well with older black voters. And, if word gets out that this dude has been trying to cut Social Security for decades, that might hurt him a little bit. Especially when you got a candidate like Bernie Sanders in there who wants to expand Social Security benefits. So that's super important. But anyway, we've spoken about this before. Other hosts have spoken about this before. So many videos on Twitter of this. But he's hilariously denying that he ever advocated for it. Total nonsense. But here's a video that I wanted to show you that nobody else is really talking about, and I haven't seen this one spread too far and wide yet. So this is Joe Biden's old position on Medicare for all. Let's watch.
As president, what would you do to stop the bleeding, to stem the flood tide of exported jobs in this country?
First thing, I wouldn't provide for any trade agreements that didn't include labor protection and environmental protection, because that gets us in a race to the bottom. If you're able not to have environmental protections or fair labor treatment in another country, you can just drive wages down to the bottom, and we lose our advantage. Number one. Number two, I would invest in a national health care policy, because right now American manufacturers are at a significant disadvantage. You build a Buick Skylark in my town of Wilmington, Delaware at the GM plant, and you build the same Skylark up in Ontario, Canada, you can sell the one up there for 14% less because they have a national health care system. It's not all rests on the company.
If Joe Biden wants to implement a Canadian-style healthcare system, I'll make that deal, dog. You want a Canadian healthcare system? I want a Canadian healthcare system. I'll make that deal right now. Shake on it. And actually, his reasoning is very interesting because that's the same. Ro Khanna does this all the time. He doesn't, like Bernie makes the moral argument for a universal healthcare system, the ethical argument for it. Hey, we're the most advanced developed nation in the world, and we have millions of people who are uninsured, hundreds of thousands of medical bankruptcies. This is insane. We need to fix it. Ro Khanna goes the business route, and he says, well, it's actually, we're at a competitive disadvantage. The United States is at a competitive disadvantage compared to other developed countries because their businesses don't have to worry about healthcare costs. That's covered already by the government. So if you want our businesses to be competitive in a global sense, we got to have a single-payer healthcare system, a Medicare for all healthcare system. And then that makes us immediately more competitive. So, I think all those arguments are sound. I think all those arguments make sense. And it's interesting that not only did Biden support a, quote, national healthcare system, a Canadian-style healthcare system, he also had developed arguments as for why that position is better. So, where's that guy? I want that guy back. And as I saw this video, it reminded me, like, that was the Biden, because I used to say about Joe Biden, if you go back and see old Secular Talk clips where I'm talking about Biden, I always used to talk about him as he had one foot in the corporate camp, one foot in the lefty camp. And, you know, if you think about that today, in the context of today, you'd be like, Kyle, what were you drinking, dog? Because that is not true at all. But no, I was going off the evidence we had at the time, and the context we had at the time. And he always did more populist rhetoric than other Democrats when it came to talk of trade. And then here's a video of him, you know, talking about a national healthcare system like Canada. So there was a time when, at the very least, his rhetoric was significantly to the left. But also, to be fair, at the time, I told you guys this, in 2008, when Hillary Clinton ran for president, she was advocating for single-payer healthcare. That's what she said in 2008 when she was running. In fact, I had a hard time deciding between Obama and Hillary because Hillary was advocating for single-payer healthcare and Obama wasn't. So, you know, I was torn because he was so much better on foreign policy, where he had voted against the Iraq War. And he had famously said, I'll talk to our enemies without preconditions. And the thing that put me over the edge to vote Obama over Hillary in the primary, when it was down to just those two in New York, which it was Hillary went after Obama for that and said, that's naive and that's stupid to talk to our enemies without preconditions. And that's when I was like, fuck off. He's right, you're wrong. And but it was tough because, you know, one of my top things is Medicare for all, single-payer healthcare system. Hillary was advocating for it and Obama wasn't. But he was so much better on foreign policy. She voted for the Iraq War. He didn't. That I was like, you know, I got to go for him because the Iraq War was so formative for me, and it really is like, it's like the original sin of modern American politics. It's like the biggest disaster ever and war crime, and it's just terrible in so many ways. So anyway, I went with him, and I still think the vote for him was better than a vote for her. I think he's a better president than she would have been, even though he wasn't a good president. But there you go. There you see Biden, where this is the stuff he used to say. Now he's gone totally in the opposite direction. And maybe his calculation was, well, Bernie's already got that left lane locked down. But honestly, I think he's been in Washington so long, Joe Biden, that he's so jaded by the way the system works that he's unable to conceive of a system that's just better and different and you know, reformed. He just thinks, well, obviously, let's work within this totally broken down, corrupt, decrepit fail system. Let's work within that because that's all we got. I just disagree with him on that. And I think Bernie's outside-inside game is so much better. And now Biden's policies are way more corporate even than they were back then. And I think this video was, you know, 2008, 2009-ish. That's my guess.